Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here, and today we find ourselves in the spacefaring future where we're going to be building ships, forming temporary alliances, and negotiating shrewdly. You'll be forming a loose band of mercenaries from an outlaw coalition known throughout the galaxy as the Moonrakers. But while they're united in name, actual alliances are shaky as players are pitted against each other in the quest to become the new leader of the Moonrakers. Moonrakers is a deck building game for 1 to 5 players, takes 60 to 90 minutes to play for ages 12 and up. It's on Kickstarter right now, so I'm going to show you how the game works and then I'll see you on the other side. Now this is a Kickstarter, and I always disclaim at the beginning of these videos that anything you see here are components and similar, are subject to change and possibly not final, and you're going to want to check the Kickstarter link in the description of this video to see all the final art and components. Now Moonrakers is a game of shipbuilding, temporary alliances, and shrewd negotiation, and you're trying to be the player to get to 10 prestige to win the game. And you'll be gaining that prestige by fulfilling contracts. Sometimes maybe on your own, but most of the time temporary aligning with other players. And you'll also be gaining prestige by fulfilling secret objectives like having 10 credits at the end of your turn, having a lot of money for example, or completing a rescue contract all by yourself. Now each player will get a command terminal where they're going to house their action deck and their secret objectives face down, and over the course of the game they're also going to be able to build and attach ship parts which will give them special abilities, allow them to add cards and things like that. Now turns go around the table clockwise manner. One player will be the mission leader for that turn. That player is going to make sure that they have 5 cards from their deck into their hands. Now everybody actually starts with the same 10 cards, but over the course of the game you're going to be able to add new cards to your deck. Now each player's turn goes through 3 phases. We just started the planning phase by drawing up to 5 cards, and one of the things you can do next is to choose a contract. Now up here we have 6 contracts here, and there's different ones you can choose from. Now these are going to require a certain amount of cards to be played by you and or other allies to fulfill the contract, and it's going to give you some rewards like prestige, which is essentially points in the game you're trying to get to 10. Sometimes credits, which is money, which will allow you to buy other cards and give you other benefits. Sometimes you'll even get some cards from there. So the player, if they want to choose a contract this round, will select one of these. Then they place that chosen card in the middle and they try to decide if they're going to go it alone or most likely go with other allies. Now, it shows you how many of these hazard dice are going to be here. In this case, 2. And this is important because once it's agreed upon who's going to actually be trying for this contract, whether alone or with other people, these dice are going to get sort of negotiated as to who's going to take them. Maybe one player takes both, maybe they get split up, maybe you don't end up having to take any. But these are going to get rolled, and for each one of these that are rolled, you'll lose a prestige, which is a point, unless you're able to play a shield on your turn to basically thwart off some of the hazard there. So this specific card needs 2 damage and 1 shield, and it's going to give up 1 prestige and 3 credits. Now again, you could try to do this alone, looking at your hand, but you might want to go with other people to help you out with some of these things. But if you're working with other people, you need to figure out how to split this up. Like you might say, hey look, I'll take the prestige and 1 credit and you can get 2 credits. And they might say, you know what, no, I want the prestige, you can take all the money. Okay. Or maybe you'll say, you know what, I'll take the prestige and 1 credit, but I'll take both dice. Things like that. And you're negotiating around things like that. But let's say like we aligned with one other player. Once that's said, the negotiated dice, however it was negotiated, will be given to each player. Let's say we split them up, and then you would roll. And again, for however it's 0, 1, or 2, for however many hazards you have, if you don't play shields, you'll end up losing a prestige, which this card is only worth 1, so that's tough. So let's say these were the 5 cards I had drawn. Now I know these cards before I started negotiating. Remember, we need 2 damage and 1 shield. I have a shield, but I don't have any damage cards here. We're hoping that the ally can do that. Now, when we were negotiating for this, players can say what they could help with, but they can't say specific numbers. Like they can't say, hey, I have 2 damage. But they could say, you know what, I could do some damage this turn or things like that, and that's part of that negotiation. But here I have this. Now, every player has 1 action they can take. Now, some of these cards allow them to add different actions. So, for example, let's say this. We're going to play this card here. So let's just say we played that reactor, and that was our single action, but that gives us 2 more actions. So let's say I have that other one, and I'm going to play that here. This is one of those 2 actions. This gives us 2 more actions. We still have 1 action based on this. And let's say we say, you know what? let's play this, which is +2 cards. So we get to draw 2 cards from our action deck into our hand, giving us some more options. And so let's say we play the shield, which again is going to help against that hazard that we have, and it's one of the shields we needed. And for that second action that's next to this, let's say we played the damage, which again is one of the 2 damage. So at this point, we are done. We've played our 1 action, which spoiled into another action, and now we're done. Now it's going to be the next player's turn that we aligned with, and at this point, all they need to do is play 1 damage, and we will succeed on this contract. Now, they can always throw a shield down to help defend from a hazard die that they might be having, but you're trying to, essentially complete this as a team. And assuming you did succeed, you would split up the prestige and the rewards here, the credits, as you had negotiated. Now, just because we were close doesn't necessarily mean we would be successful, because players, allies can lie. They can say what they can help with, and they might not have those cards, and they might not want to help you. Why would they do that? Well, maybe they have a secret goal that says, hey, fail a contract as an ally. If they had failed this and they were the ally, they would gain 1 prestige and basically score that for having this as their secret goal that they have completed. Now, if they did not succeed on this, then no players would split any of the rewards. This would go to the bottom of the contract deck. And keep in mind, these hazards will hit for each shield that doesn't block this, whether you succeed or not. Now, that was during the planning phase, and we were trying to complete a contract, but let's say you didn't want to do that. The other option is to stay at base. Now, to do that, you would essentially take 2 of these objective cards, look at them, keep 1, discard the other one to the bottom of here. It's going to give you another goal to shoot for. You're also going to get a credit, which essentially is currency in the game, values of 1 and 3 here. You'll get 1 of those. By the way, these are some really nice metal coins. And if you're staying at base, you can optionally discard 1 of these contracts to the bottom of this and put a new one out there. That kind of refresh certain things for you. You would have then discarded all your cards in your hand to the discard portion of your board over on the right, and then draw back up to 5. Now, if anytime you cannot draw a total of 5, you draw all you can, you shuffle this deck as to a new draw deck, and then you draw up so that you have a total of 5 cards, just like standard deck building. Now, as you saw before, we had those cards there. After you fulfill a contract, you'll have cards played as well. And any cards you didn't play in your hand during the contract also go to your discard pile. So all 5 cards that you have in your hand each turn will get used. Now, whether you tried to fulfill a contract in the execution phase or you skipped it by staying at base, you'd still find yourself in this next phase here, which is the buying phase. We're going to be able to buy some ship parts or some crew. Now, only the mission leader is going to be able to do this, and you can buy as many as you can afford. Now, these ship parts have some different things about them. Number 1 is when you buy one, you'll see the cost here, like 4, 5, 3 credits, for example. And when you do buy them, you'll sometimes get cards. Like this one will give you a thruster card, or a reactor card, or 2 reactor cards, and that's how you start adding cards to your deck. Now, off to the side, there are all the different cards you can get in their separate decks: the reactors, thrusters, damages of 1, 2, or 3, a shield, and a miss, which essentially just clogs up your deck. Now, as you add any of these cards again, they go into your discard pile, meaning you won't get it into your hand until after you've successfully gone through all of your cards in your draw deck and in your hand. Now, in addition to that, they have different abilities too. Like if you buy this cloaking device, you roll 1 less hazard die. That's cool. Or the requirement for the thruster is 1 less. That's cool too. For example, so if we had this one out there, instead of this being 4, we'd only need 3, for example. Or maybe your first reactor card is +3 actions instead of +2. They do all sorts of different things. And when you add it, you'll add it to one of the 4 spots on your board here. And let's say we just spent our 2 credits to buy this one, and we're going to get a reactor card, and allies start with an extra action. Well, that's cool that people are going to want to ally with you when you're the mission leader, or even if you're another ally. If you're in the negotiations, people are going to like that. So you have 4 slots, and if it's ever filled and you try to get another one, you can just discard one of the ones that's there. And ship parts and crews get replaced immediately with new options. Again, you can buy as many as you can afford. Now, about these crews, you'll see in the upper left it has a sort of purple person, and that's important because some contracts actually require you to have a certain amount of crew in order to actually fulfill it. Now, these have costs as well, 3, 3, and 3 here, for example, but they all have abilities too when you play them. Like when you play this crew here, subtract 2 from any 1 requirement, or negate 2 hazard, or reduce a shield requirement by 2, or get +3 actions, and a requirement for reactor is 1 less. So they give you little abilities as well. Now, if you buy one of these, just like if you were getting another one of the normal action cards, it would go into your discard pile and it would cycle in through your deck eventually. And again, you're trying to win the game by having 10 prestige. If you do that at the end of the round, you have won. You can even win on somebody else's turn. But if it's tied, then essentially you'd add up your net worth, which is essentially the player with having the most value of ship parts, crew members, and your credits. Now let me show you a little bit more of some of these hidden objectives. The tank, for example, acquire 3 Henko type of ship parts. These are the green ones that say Henko on them. Or chain reaction, play at least 4 reactor cards on the same contract. Or efficiency, play no thruster cards, but complete a delivery type contract, a yellow one that essentially needs thrusters. So you're going to be negotiating and trying to get other people to play those to do that. Tinker, after acquiring 4 ship parts, you replace one of them. Or Ace, complete a contract with 3 more hazards targeting you. So you can sort of negotiate for you, make it look like you're the good guy, taking all the hazards, and then you get 1 point for that, hoping that you have enough shields to kind of block those. So those are sort of the different things that happen. Here's a look at some more of the different crew cards. This one allows you to search your draw pile for any card and play it without an action, but then you shuffle your draw pile. This one allows you to trash a card, and this is great because people start with some of these misses, which just clog up your deck. You can trash a card from your hand, subtract 2 from any 1 requirement, and you get +1 action. This one allows you to play as a damage 5, which is huge, and you can trash the top card of your draw pile, which may or may not be very good. Here, the green ones essentially help you with the hazard, so you negate a hazard. You play as a damage equal to the number of the hazard dice that you drew, so this would be 2 damage, for example. This one gives you +3 cards, and the requirement for thrusters 1 less. Or here, you get to trash a card from your hand and add a reactor card to your discard pile and giving you 1 action. And even though we showed a 4-player game here, there are special rules for solo play and for 2 players. Well, there you have Moonrakers, and as I've shown in the overview, it's a deck building game at its core, but it's the temporary alliances and the negotiation layered on top which makes Moonrakers a unique experience. Now, if you'd like to see all the final art and components and all the different pledge levels available, you can click the link below me in the description of this video, and it will take you directly to the Kickstarter project page for Moonrakers, and I'm sure the fine creators of Moonrakers would love your support.